What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Lunch with the Clydesdale. It has been a crazy weekend, a crazy Monday morning, and I am so glad that I get to take a breath, hang out with you all, see what's going on, talk some CrossFit, talk some stuff. So super excited to be with you all today. All right. Had to clean up some graphics from last night and then go ahead and get these graphics back up. So first thing I want to say is last night we tried to stay live until the age group semifinal results were announced or listed or whatever was going on with that. That did not happen until almost an hour after we went off the air. However, they're live now. So Carolyn, Jamie, and I are trying to find a place to this week get together, go through the leaderboards, talk about some of the people who made it, some of the people who didn't, and kind of go through that. But right now we're just trying to get some times together to figure out when that might be. It will not be today. Today schedules are just crazy. So it'll probably be later in the week that we go ahead and do that. But just so you all know, and I'm sure it's no secret, both Carolyn and Jamie qualified for the CrossFit Games. So we're super stoked about that. Carolyn finished third in the 35 to 39-year-old division. Jamie finished eighth. I'll say this here, like super proud of Jamie. I have been following her with documentary stuff the past couple seasons. Online has always been a struggle for her. And then she gets in person and then blows people out of the water. The fact that she won the Open this year, finished eighth in the semis this year online is awesome for her. And it's a great sign as to what is going to come for her, I think, if her schedule permits her to go to the CrossFit Games, because once she gets there in person, she's unstoppable. She is such a great racer. So yeah. Corey says that Jamie is an actual animal. She is so fit, it's silly. She is. But it's going to be fun with both the co-hosts making it to the games being here in Columbus, and we are going to have a party. Train to Live. Shout out to one of my gym teen athletes, 16 to 17, Kate Johnson, currently 19th in the world. That's awesome. Congratulations, Kate. Craig says, I have a lot of video workouts to watch. It'll be fun. There you go. Yeah, it's crazy when you go out to the leaderboard, and I'll pull it up, that every single name has videos. They are straight across. You know, we're so used to, like, in the Open that just a smattering of people have their videos posted. Every single person, nowhere to hide. Nowhere to hide. You have to have a video submitted with all of your scores. Aaron says, have they announced how long the review process will be? It was announced that these will be up for 1 week, and then the videos will be pulled and not be able to be reviewed anymore. And I really hope that judges take this seriously. And it's not just a vindictive type of thing. Because I've gone out and looked at some of the videos, and there are people that have marked them needs review, and I watch it, and I have a lot of judging experience, and I cannot find the aspect that they think needs reviewed. And so I hope that people aren't just being vindictive and trying to move up the leaderboard by going over and hitting needs review on people around them on the leaderboard. So, Train to Live says they were told leaderboards will be finalized April 21st. So yes, so this week they will be out for public view to judge them. Then in addition to that, then if they have a lot of needs reviews, then CrossFit will come in and do a secondary review of the video and determine if it is good or needs some kind of judgment to it. So it's a two-step process. So that's kind of everything behind that. And here you can see, this is actually Jamie. There she is in 8th place right there. But a lot of these people ahead of her, she has beaten in-person in-person competitions. So that'll be fun to see how it all kind of plays out. So anyway, yeah, there's that. Here is Carolyn's 3rd place finish. She is surrounded by some heavy hitters in the master space. Stevie Dellinger, who won CrossFit Crash's Masters division. And there's Christine Best, longtime CrossFitter. Caroline Klutz, who won Crash 2 years ago in the Masters division. So yeah, lots of people there. And then just because she's a great friend of the show, we have Denise Moore. Denise Moore finished 4th in the 65 to 69-year-old division. So yeah, we got a lot of people going to the games. Denise's best friend and training partner, Cindy Hinkle, right there, won the 55 to 59-year-old division. So lots of cool stuff, but we'll dive into a lot more of that once Jamie and Carolyn and I can get our schedules together and figure out a time to kind of look at these leaderboards, look at the workouts, look at the judging process, all of those things. Jay Birch says, if you have taken the judges course, you should have gotten an email about the review. And Corey said, yeah, that email from Boz was cool. Yeah. The head judge of head judges right there, man. Pardon me for 1 second. I have an Instacart order going as I've been gone all weekend, and my cupboards are bare. So they didn't have one of my items, so I needed to approve that. There we go. All right. Yeah. I'm always afraid to announce that he's here because I know he tries to slide in and slide out and sneak around, and who knows what mission he's on today, but so I did title this show update on Mama Switzer. Last night I let it be known that the reason we didn't have shows last week is I was on the phone with my mom on FaceTime. She ended up having a stroke while we were on the phone together. That freaked me out. Thank goodness that I in my workplace in the break room, they have the signs of a stroke on the bulletin board, and I would stare at it as I microwaved my food frequently. And as it was happening, I knew exactly what was happening. I was able to get through to emergency services after several attempts to get someone out there by ambulance to get her. She was taken to the hospital in my hometown of Oil City. She was then transferred to Pittsburgh. And then my wife and I packed up. We headed there to spend the weekend with her. Yesterday, she was taken out of ICU. And so we came back home, and I talked to her this morning. Everything is back into the normal ranges, and there's a really good chance she'll be discharged to go home tomorrow. So all good news. I thank everybody for their thoughts, prayers, everything in that vein. But if I could implore anything out of this whole thing, is if you have a loved one that lives out of state from you, you need to find out what their local emergency services number is and have it in your phone. You can't just dial 911 when your loved one is in another state. It just doesn't work that way, right? 911 works to local. they ping your phone, they know where you are, all of that stuff. But when I'm calling about a person in another state, it took a lot of transfers to get to the place I needed to be. So I would, after that experience, would implore every single one of you, if you have a a good friend, a parent, a child, aunt, uncle, whatever that you talk to and that you love, to get their emergency services number for their area and put it into your phone. Because if something happens and you need to call, it is not the easiest thing to do when it's all happening and you're in that moment. So I would just implore you guys to do that. It only takes a couple minutes to find out what it is, plug it into your phone, and it's there in case you need it in an emergency. It would have made things a little bit faster for me, and would have taken a lot of the stress out of the situation as it was going down. So I encourage you all to do that. Yesterday we had the Mayhem Classic finish up. And one thing I wanted to point out from that, and if you've been with this show for any length of time at all, you'll know this is a pet peeve of mine. I hate when there is no finish line. And I loved that Mayhem had a finish line for every single event. Rich completely gets it that you are telling a story for the spectators. When the athletes were done, they had to get off of whatever apparatus it was, and they had to run to a finish line and hit a button. So not only did they have a finish line, but they had a concentrated area that you could look for to see who hit it first. You didn't have to worry about who threw an ankle. Was it the right ankle or the left ankle? Was it a wrist or whatever? It was a button on a chess piece that they had to hit. And it made it easier to tell who finished the race first. And they had so many great races that came into play a lot over the weekend. These competitions that end on the final rep or on a rower or on a bike, and then you can't tell who's done, who's not done until you go look at a leaderboard and see who finished where. It is the most frustrating thing being a spectator in this sport. If you're trying to grow it as a sport, you need to make it watchable for the spectator. And in this case, that happened. Mayhem had those chess pieces with the buzzer on top, and it gave you a pinpoint area where you could look at to see who hit it first, who hit it second, who hit it third. And it was easy for not just the spectators, but the commentators to be able to tell you who finished first, second, and third. So huge kudos to Rich, the Mayhem crew, for putting that chess piece there with the buzzer. It made the storytelling so much better and so much easier. I heard someone say this morning on Savon that Rich saved CrossFit this weekend. And while I think that might be a bit of hyperbole, I do think that it was a great competition and it was fun to watch. I really enjoyed it, and it brought back kind of that, what I love about the sport. So while I think saving CrossFit may have gone a step too far, it did a lot to grow my love back for a sport that I love to watch. Aaron Fraser, I don't understand why James slid when racing Spencer. I don't either, unless he was afraid of hitting the barrier in some kind of weird way. He did hit the buzzer as he slid by, but getting into a sliding position would just slow you down. It would be much better to go right at the chess piece and tackle it like many people did, and like Corey says here. Or just kind of run into the crowdish barrier at the end and let them kind of hold you up from that barrier. So I don't know why he made that decision. I think that a lot of athletes are just used to, their muscle memory is they have a timepiece on their ankle. And by sliding in, you're getting that ankle over first to try to win a race. So let's chalk it up to muscle memory. That is just, he did it because that's what you would do when the time chip is on your ankle. So yeah. Corey says the broadcast was incredible this weekend. Voice of CrossFit plus Rich and Angela was fantastic. It really was. It just was so refreshing. It was different than what we've heard over the past few years. And so I'm not taking a shot at anybody who has commentated before. What I'm saying is it was refreshing and new, and they were having fun with it. I think that is the most important part of the broadcast. We are getting to a point in our ecosystem in sports where the announcers aren't just there to tell the facts and the details, but they're there to have fun. There's a reason why Pat McAfee is the biggest thing in sports right now from a commentating standpoint, because it's not just about the facts. It's about having fun with your crew. Like, he has a big crew. They have fun. That's why people watch it. You could tell that Rich and Angelo are part of a crew, and the way they dogged some of their Mayhem athletes, like Luke with the nasal strip, and talking about George, or Jorge, as they like to call him, George, Roman. That stuff was really, really fun to watch. So I agree. I thought it loosened Sean up to have more fun with it, instead of just being like straight down the fairway with the facts and the details of what's going on the floor. I thought it was great, and it was refreshing and fun. And that's the most important part. It was fun. And Corey says, exactly. You could tell they enjoyed themselves, made it so much better to watch. Apparently Royce Dunn weighs 450 pounds. Yeah. He is a big man. He is when I first stood beside him at the games, he is a very large man. Jason Bourne, how was the judging this past weekend? I think and they said it on the broadcast a couple times, the best part about the judging was they weren't talked about, other than given kudos that they weren't noticed. And that is the best compliment you can give a judge, is that they were not noticed while they were out on the floor. So that was awesome. I saw our guy, Andrew Sten, out there. I know he was in Haley's lane for some of the weekend. He was doing his thing. I know a handful of the other judges I saw out there. They had one of the top crews out there doing this. And I know the AFJ was behind kind of setting this up. It was cool that Rich had conversations with the AFJ as they tweaked and moved things, and got their input on it as they were going to have to judge it. And he really listened to their suggestions, which I thought was a cool move too. There weren't ridiculous standards. If you listen to the broadcast, Rich talked about, they thought about going with this standard, but realized, hey, let's just make it fun. Let's figure out, just get through it in the best way possible. And I think that worked out for the best. Shay says, great dynamic with all three of them. Completely agree. And Craig says they had Royce up to 500 pounds before the comp was over. I know. The tail grows and grows. So, congratulations to Colton and Austin, as well as Fee and Abby. I thought those were great performances all weekend. Colton and Austin pretty much ran away with the weekend-ish. Roman made it semi-close at the end with that win. But for the most part, Austin and Colton finished first and second in the first event and never looked back, which was really cool to see. To see that happen. So They did great. We always forget about Abby Domit. There she was, killing it again. Fee has had a killer spring and just continued to do that. And now they get to sit back and relax and get ready for the games. They so Fee qualified in the pro division for WFP. Abby finished in the challenger division of WFP. It'll be interesting to see if Abby goes ahead and competes there or not. I'm sure Fee will, with an opportunity to get a pro card. And then on the men's side, Austin has the WFP and Colton won the WFP qualifier. So I'm sure both of them will go to either defend or go after a pro card. But I said this last night, isn't it? It's something that just makes you go, that of the 4 qualifiers for the CrossFit Games, only one of them was assigned WFP athlete. The other 3 had to go through the qualifier to try to get in. So our first 4 tickets punched, only one was selected to be one of the 20 best athletes to sign to a pro card. Not really making any commentary there, just something that makes you go, That's all. Claudia also did well. She did look great. Hannah placed higher than most analysts predicted. I'm a big Hannah Black fan. I got to meet her at the West Coast semifinal a couple years ago. Interviewed her after Linda or the sled pull, one of the two, that she had done really, really well in. And I think it was Linda. And she's been on the show a couple times since. So really, really a big fan of Hannah. I hope that she can really build up her engine and do some of those things to make her a better overall athlete. Helson says, how many WFP athletes were at Mayhem? There were a good chunk. James, Jason, Roman. I'd have to look through the lineup again to see. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. On the women's side, you had Alexis and Haley. Yeah, I'd have to look through the lineups. Off the top of my head, it's really hard to picture both lists in my head, but I think there were more on the men's side that were signed athletes than there were from than on the women's side, because the two that withdrew last minute were WFP athletes. Oh yeah, Guy. I don't know if Sam is, but Guy surely is. Emily, yeah. Thank you, everybody. Again, I was in a hospital all weekend and then drove home last night, did the show. I am not at 100%. I will tell you that. Oh, wow. A lot. There was a good chunk for the only one of the signed athletes to actually make it to the games. I thought that was just, again, it's just an observation. I'm not trying to like dig on anybody. But I have been pounding the table for years that we pay attention to the top 10, and there's a lot of great athletes in 11 to 40 when given the opportunity to show what they can do. Aaron says, I knew Hannah was strong, but I didn't realize how big she was. I wouldn't say big, like she's just tall. And so she's going to have those, she's like at the same height as Emily Rolfe, maybe. They're about the same height. But I wouldn't say she's much bigger than the other athletes, just really, really tall, compared to most of the athletes. But I would say the same about Emily Rolfe. Annie Thor's daughter size. Yeah, they're all in that like upper tallness size. 5'8", I would say 5'8". She might even push 5'9", 5'10", but I doubt she's 180. I would doubt that, but I'm not a. I did not work at a carnival at any time guessing people's weights. That is not my forte. But I did think it was funny. They her and I, in the first time she was on the show, we talked about her thesis on Isabel. And it was funny how that got brought up in the broadcast, and they talked about that she did, and they made fun of her being a doctor, and that now Angelo is the professor and blah, blah, blah. And really what the thesis was about, just to let you guys know, is if you've ever seen like when they make video games and they put the white balls on people, that's what she did for Isabel. And they videoed several different people doing Isabel, and she was tracking the I don't know, the deterioration of movement from the first rep to the 30th rep of Isabel. Because the idea is to stay in good movement from rep 1 to rep 30. And she had these movement tracking balls on people. They videoed it and then analyzed how the movement deteriorated from the first rep to the 30th rep. So that was what her thesis was on, which I found very, very fascinating. So, and there are other semifinal athletes that work in that body mechanics, motion type stuff. One of the semifinal athletes from the last couple years works for the Boston Red Sox, and it's her job to analyze pitching and batting and how it affects success or failures throughout throughout a game. So, and that is Stacey Larum. She was a semifinal athlete for the last couple of years. So I just love that science behind all that. And Corey says that's pretty cool, and it is. Hannah's listed at 5'9", 180 pounds. Yeah. And Aaron says 5'9", 185. Again, I am not a weight guesser, so I am not sure, but I would actually think she's thinned out since or leaned out since I first met her. But I am not a weight guesser. But 5'9" seems just about right. Talking about height, Kale is only 2 inches above dwarfism. Yeah, I don't. That poor guy is getting, and I gave him a little bit last night, so I'll let other people handle that going forward. She's with Precision CrossFit. Is that Hannah? When I talked to Hannah, she was in Austin, Texas, and then she moved to San Diego to be with Invictus to be on their team. And so I don't really even know where she's at anymore. I haven't talked to her in a little bit. I actually thought about reaching out to her to have her back on the show after her experience with Mayhem. And to see if she's going to go team this year or if she's trying to go individual, because she was with a games team last year, one of the Invictus teams that made it to the CrossFit Games. Jay Birch says, "Hey, easy on the height jokes." Yeah. Yeah, Rich said the same thing this morning. Didn't want to pile on Kale. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I had a little bit of fun with it last night, and then today I'm just like, I feel bad for the guy. Hiller called him out. We'll see what happens from that. I do, yeah, it is what it is. We'll see. So, yeah, fun stuff there. The other thing I had on my mind, I had a couple things, and these are just quick hitters. And one is that Alex Ovechkin became the uh, greatest goal scorer in the NHL this weekend. And I have ESPN updates on my phone, and I am the least bit of a fan of Alex Ovechkin. I have been raised as a Penguins fan, and the Penguins hate the Capitals, and they hate Alex Ovechkin. We are Sidney Crosby fans. And so every time the update would come, I would just get annoyed by it. Like, oh gosh, do I have to be reminded that he's doing this and accomplishing this goal? But it is pretty impressive to break a Wayne Gretzky goal record. And it was cool that Wayne Gretzky was there to shake his hand after he did it. I thought that was pretty awesome. And Gretzky said he did that because Gordie Howe did that with him when he broke Gordie Howe's record. So I like that we have that lineage, that we pass that down from generation to generation. Even though I'm not an Ovechkin fan, it's a pretty cool accomplishment. And then the women's tournament ended this week with another win by the Yukon Huskies, their 12th national championship under Gino Auriemma. Pretty impressive. What I would, the one thing I wanted to point out is we did do that tournament challenge, and I got beat. The first and second place finishers were Jamie and Carolyn. So that sucks that I have to lose to them all the time. They're fitter than me. They pick better than me. Ugh, so bad. Corey Leonard, to be fair, it looked like when people want to have a regular dude at the Olympics versus the Olympic athletes, like you could tell the dude was fit, but he just looked out of place. Sure. He had the guts to go. Like he could have said no, but he showed up. Got to give him credit for that. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and this is, but just a pet peeve. Maybe it'll turn into a riff. I don't know. But I had to go to Pittsburgh to be with my mom this weekend. And like Columbus is a big city, but it's not like a big, big city. And so it is more of a concrete jungle than Columbus is, even though population wise, Columbus is supposed to be bigger than Pittsburgh. It does not feel that way in any sense. When you're in Pittsburgh, it feels much, much bigger than Columbus there. So, and Columbus is very round, is very square. You miss a street, you just go up a block, go around the block, and catch it again. Pittsburgh is very big. You lose your sense of direction because of all the buildings, and it's not square. There are 3 rivers splitting this city into different. So you have triangles, you have circles, you have trapezoids, and so there are no square streets. But they do this thing with their traffic that is just mind-blowing to me. So you'll go down a street and there's no solid, like permanent line to tell you like what is the right and what is the left. It's just like dashes, like 2 dashes constantly running down in a straight-ish line down this street. And then above the street, they have little boxes that are either a green arrow or a red X. And depending on how much traffic they have, they change how many lanes can move in each direction. So like morning rush, it may be that the eastbound lanes are now 3 and they're green, and the westbound lane is 1. And then in evening rush, all that switches to where the 3 westbound lanes are now green and the 1 eastbound lane is now a red X. And so if you are not paying attention and you are not from there and you don't see those little things above the street periodically, because you can't see them all the time, they just show up periodically down the street. It is insane. And then going in and out of the city, they have HOV lanes that are separate, and they're in the middle between the 2 different directions. And depending on what time of day, there are gates that open and shut that middle lane, so that like going north and south, going north out of the city in morning, the gates will be shut and you cannot access the HOV lane. Then in the evening, when you're going north and it's more traffic leaving the city, that gate opens up and you can access that HOV lane going north. So that HOV lane changes direction depending on the traffic needs as well. It is wild because all this stuff is happening and people that are from there are just like cutting you off, swerving over 3 lanes, swerving here and there. And you're trying to pay attention to all this new stuff that you've never seen before. And they're just flying around you like you're standing still. It was freaking wild. And all weekend, it did nothing but rain. So you're doing all this in like rainstorms, trying to see everything. It was just crazy. And I feel like I live in a pretty big city. Like Columbus has over 1 million population. It's a big city. But man, I go to Pittsburgh and I grew up just north of Pittsburgh. We used to go there for baseball games all the time and to the amusement parks there and all that stuff. Like I have family that live there. My daughter lives there now, but it has become this, and none of that stuff existed back in the day. None of these like changing lane things. I'm sure that studies were done that say this is more effective and allows traffic flow better throughout the city. And I commend them for trying these things. But man, if you're not from there, it is freaking wild. But yeah, so just wanted to share that because I've never seen it in any other city I have visited. And I visited a lot through either my job or through CrossFit. And I've never seen this done anywhere else other than there. I would love to hear if any of you have experienced that in another city, because changing the flow of traffic on a lane periodically during the day to make it better, on one hand seems very logical, and on the other hand seems like, how do we keep up with this and understand it and make it so that the drivers are still safe? So yeah, just a little food for thought. And of course, if you have experienced any of that or have any ideas about anything we've talked about, just leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. But guess what, guys? It's time for you hooligans to get back to work. Lunch is over. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Oh, and Kat's new show kicked off with a bang last week. Lots of viewers, really loving it. She is going to go live this week, Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time instead of 8. And then I believe following this week, she's going to park the show on Tuesday nights. Just to kind of get it away from the barbell spin. So that all of you barbell spin lovers can also watch her show. I think that is the plan. She has some plans this week on Tuesday. So 5:00 p.m. Eastern time this week. And then after that, it'll be parked on Tuesday nights. But with that, yep, time to get back to work, guys. We'll see everybody tomorrow on Lunch with the Clydesdale. Bye, guys.